a typical night is almost like a normal paranormal investigation, except for we've had to remove certain aspects so people get more experiences out of it. So we do more sort of hands-on experimentation for your night. Typically we have mediums, clairvoyants, psychic artists there. We also have paranormal investigators there. And basically it's you versus the location and its ghosts. We take you there, we tell you all about the history, we tell you all about the things that have happened there, and then we do a number of workshops to teach you how to use the latest ghost internet equipment, and also as well is how mediums work and how they work within a location. We then split you up into very small little groups, place you into the small haunted areas and see how it kicks off. And that's when the fun starts.
Is it true that York's the most haunted city in Europe?
Oh, absolutely. If you look at the amount of hauntings that occurs within the city centre of York, there's more hauntings and ghost reports per square mile than any other place in the whole of Britain. Let's not forget that York is one of the oldest cities in Britain. We've had Roman foundation here, we've had Anglo-Saxon, and we've also got Viking. So what we have here is 3 stages of habitation leading up to modern day. Also as well is cutting straight the way through York is a major ley line that begins from the York Minster, leads through 2 churches and finishes around Clifford's Tower, and that cuts all the way through. And what we've done through research is actually found that a lot of the hauntings cluster around there. And the location you're at here tonight, Otherworld, is actually just at the side of the ley line. And that's why York is so haunted. It's got so many old buildings. In the 1960s, when all cities were getting funding, York was given nothing. So they had to put up with the old medieval and the Georgian buildings and had to put up with them. And that's why it's all original that you see around you. It is, without a doubt, and I've been investigating for over 20 years, the most active, the most paranormal, and underhyped as well, because a lot of people, certainly Derby promotes itself as being the dead centre of England, and there's more hauntings, without a doubt. You go in the archives, you find page after page of folklore, of hauntings, and every street's got a tale.
What do you think ghosts are?
Well, after 20 years of doing this, one thing I would say is most people think ghosts are just recordings, that they appear time and time again, and that's all they are. What you're dealing with is a recording, like the stone tape theory, that sort of thing. But what keeps me interested is this little bit of intelligence that keeps appearing. You can rule out something like 96% of all ghosts and hauntings. Usually you find out that there's normally it's either a misinterpretation, you find out that the pipes are rattling, or there's something, that's quite common and down to earth. You're then left with this kind of 4% that seems to show that whatever we're dealing with seems to have an intelligence, and it's that what keeps me going. So over the years I've been able to study things, look into sociology, philosophy, into theology as well, and how religion deals with ghosts and hauntings. And I kind of come down on the global consciousness sort of theory. Jung, the philosopher, came out with the theory that around Earth or around in the air there is this consciousness that everything that you experienced is out there. Some of the Victorian spiritualists called it the Akashic records, and that you can log into this and download the information. I think that's what's happening, is when mediums are walking around a location, they're not actually kind of in tune with a spirit, a physical spirit stood there, but they're actually, it's a way of interfacing with this global consciousness, that you're able to access the information through what they think is a spirit. And what causes this is the right conditions. And this is what scientists are trying to do now. And you've got people like Professor Richard Wiseman, who's worked out levels of EMF, humidity and lighting have a degree of effect on people. And I think there's a lot more as well, and I kind of think that this consciousness, this global consciousness, has some sort of energy to it. And I think the right conditions allow anybody, and I mean anybody at all, can access this and get visions, see a ghost as such, or be able to receive psychic information. It's just a question of being in the right place at the right time and being able to access this information.
Can you give some idea of the things that would give false returns, the kind of things that people would mistake for ghosts or spiritual phenomena?
Yeah, it's the first thing is you have to look on a psychological point of view, and people will go into a building like this. They will go into a darkened room. They may be stood up for 10 to 25 minutes, and they begin to feel pins and needles. Some people may think, they're getting affected by the energies, and obviously it's levels of the blood and that sort of thing. Normally, the biggest phenomenon that occurs, which people misunderstand, is when they go into an absolute pitch black room and they start to see pinpricks of light and think it's spiritual energy building up. People will also see things like glowing underneath the eyes or mists swirling around, and the colours of the mist depends on the person, depends if they have colour blindness or any short-sightedness. And all of these are just optical effects, because when you stand in the room, the first thing that your eyes do is try to work out exactly where the horizon is. So you will actually feel off balance. So you've probably heard people say, I've gone into this room, I feel a bit woozy, I feel a bit sick. It's not because they're sensing any ghosts or spirits, it's purely and simple that they've not been able to find the horizon of exactly where the room is. So that tends to happen, and then you get people who are techies who bring along new technology like digital camcorders and digital cameras, so they pick up on things like light anomalies or orbs when they are very easily explained. And it's come to the point now where you've got major camera manufacturers like Fuji and Sony both admitting on their websites that these are actually faults with their camera, that they are caused by airborne particles lit by an intense flash close to the lens, and it's throwing it back as a circular orb. The reason why orbs are circular is because the lens is circular. If the lens was square, you would have square orbs. And the problem is you've in the last 3 years you've got a lot of experts who've not actually delved into this, and we gave out a technical sheet on orbs, and this must have been about 7-8 years ago, and we was contacted by somebody who said, "You're wrong, absolute nonsense, orbs are spiritual energy." And he said, I take photographs of red orbs because I deal with angry ghosts. So we visited him at his house, and he came out and met us, and he was wearing a red fleece. And I said, "Do you wear that during your investigations?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "Can I wear that and use your camera and I'll photograph?" And I photographed, and it was full of red orbs. Any airborne particle. Everybody says orbs are dust. No, they're not. They're any airborne particle. Dandruff, dust, flies, you name it, and it will cause that to happen. Rain. That is an orb. And light anomalies, as they're nicknamed now, they're exactly the same. All it is that you have an intense light source, an ultraviolet torch very close to the lens. That lights up any airborne particles, and because the lens is so small and it's filming such a wide angle, it looks like these light anomalies are flying backwards and forwards at intense speeds. Well, they're not. They're just travelling in front of a small lens, and that's all it is. So we can accurately say orbs, light anomalies are not a part of what we do. A paranormal investigator will get past that and start using the equipment and getting involved and working out how a ghost affects the environment, because that's what a ghost is. It's an environmental phenomenon that affects the environment around you.
Okay, that's the false side of things. In your mind, how would you determine what is real? What would be a real experience or a real ghost?
Well, what confirms it to me is, and certainly through Fright Nights or past investigations, is the only way you can understand, you can work out that somebody is having a real experience is through research. and I've taken people to locations, and they have repeated experiences. So we bring another 25 people or whatever to a location, and you will get people having the same experience in the same area, and it will defy what the parapsychologists will determine as being the ideal ghost sort of location. So what I mean by that is a room that's lit quite lightly, the floors are very even. That normally shouldn't trigger a ghost experience, and yet there's certainly a place like Alton Towers where there's one of the rooms which is fairly well lit. It's not known for any ghostly phenomena, but people keep having this experience there. And I think when you start to get people over a period of 3 or 4 years having the same experience, then you kind of think, hang on a minute, there's a pattern here, there must be a reasoning. And once you've ruled out things like EMF and humidity and try and work out that sort of side, you're left with the unknown. And I always look for this 4% unknown. The use of equipment is good, but generally he's making very, very good notes. Anything that a medium says, or somebody who's having an experience, if they're talking about dates, if they're talking about names, get out there and do the research. And that's kind of lacking, you know. That's what people should be doing, is trying to get the historical evidence, which could mean that this person is having a real paranormal experience. When you have things like poltergeist activity or things like that, it's just using common sense. You know, people talk about, well, there's a cold spot in here. Well, why is there a cold spot? Is there lots of windows? Is there a chimney that's open? And you've just got to use your common sense with anything like this.
In your mind, what is the most compelling evidence that you've witnessed?
I've witnessed a full manifestation of a ghost, and this was at Dudley Castle in 2003. It was about 6:30 in the morning. We had 22 attendees taking part in one of our overnight investigations, and for the final part, it was getting light outside. We decided to do a seance, and we got everybody in a circle and we said, everybody hold hands. The reason why we did that is to make sure that nobody was messing around, you know, throwing stones or anything like that. But it was light enough that you could see everybody. And we were sat there, is there anybody here? Is there anything happening? And all of a sudden, there was what sounded like a chair scraping across the floor. Everybody looked behind, couldn't see anything. It began to get lighter outside. Is there anything here? Next minute the chair went bang bang. Everybody kind of jumped up. I said, everybody keep holding hands. I wanted to make sure that nobody's faking this. And all of a sudden the chair began to move again and it flipped over. And it was 8 foot behind me. Everybody in the group all saw this happening. It was basically a simple wooden chair. There was nobody near it, there was no bags, it wasn't tipped over. That tipped over, and then there was a sound like somebody opening up a sweet wrapper, but it was coming from an opposite corner, near one of the stone coffins, and out of the coffin was like a swirling mist, and if you rubbed your hand in front of a TV and you get that staticky charge, it looked like that swirling. A number of people said, oh, what's happening? The EMF meters went all to red, so there was an increase in static electricity. I just said, everybody keep calm, don't say anything, just watch, observe, and I'll talk to you later. And it was swirling, and then slowly but surely, a head, and then shoulders appeared, and then a 35-year-old ex-Marine jumped up and shouted, switch the torch on, well, you can imagine what he shouted. Somebody switched the torch on, and that was the energy broke. Before anybody talked, I said, everybody, shh, get outside, get a pen and paper, write down what you saw. And they all walked off, didn't come back, and they all saw the same thing as what I saw. They saw manifest partially the top half of a child aged between 12 and 14, long black hair, red dress and a white collar. It was highly detailed, it was just like a girl was appearing there. And to me that was one of the most spectacular things to happen. Everybody always has this fallacy that you have to be in small groups or at least by yourself to see a ghost. It's absolute nonsense. We had a good team there that night. We were all relaxed. It was getting early in the morning, and it kicked off, and that happened. And I was very impressed with that because we had the correlation with the EMF as well, exactly at the same time.
Husband became very, very ill, and we used to go and see the pair of them. I think it was like an auntie or a relation to them on my mother's side. And she told me something in confidence when I was a teenager, after her husband had died, it was about what had happened, because she knew I was interested in this kind of thing. The husband had to sleep in the living room, on a bed in the living room. And she'd given him some soup on the afternoon, and she'd gone to put the soup in there. She heard a knock at the door. Didn't know what it was, so she goes to the door, and then she said when she was walking, this is the thing that struck me, when she was walking down the corridor, she saw a figure, and the way that she described the figure was it was composed of, like when you've got no signal on your TV, it's all sort of static and there's lots of dots flying about. There was a figure made of that, if you like. Yeah. She didn't know what to make of that. She thought she hadn't had enough sleep, or she was hallucinating, or something was wrong, she was ill. So she went to tell her husband, and of course, husband had gone, her husband had passed away, and she put those two together. It's interesting you mentioned, the sort of static and the...
You mentioned two interesting things there. Whereabouts in the country are you from?
North East.
I thought you were. Interestingly, because obviously I'm from Yorkshire as well, we have the same traditions. Number one, yes, you mentioned the static figure, which is very similar to what people experience just before a full manifestation occurs. But secondly, you mentioned something quite interesting which you may not have picked up on, but certainly in North Yorkshire and in the North East, there's a tradition that if somebody is on their deathbed or whatever, you don't open a window or open a door. And usually what happens is there's a thing called death calling, and somebody opens the door, you've let the soul out. And that is interesting when you said that, because I thought, that's what's going to happen.
I didn't, this is just something that she related to me. I haven't even told her.
There's actually stories of kind of farmers' wives shutting all the sort of shutting the shutters, shutting the doors to keep them alive. And there's always a little girl who opens the back door, and that's it. He's gone. But the static electricity, and
that's the thing that's stuck in my mind, because I can understand possibly the distress in time like that. I would imagine somebody would say the typical looked a bit like the sheet or something like this kind of thing, but it was the sort of imagery that she described. So stayed with me.
You've heard the old saying of your hair standing on end, and the reason why your hair is standing on end when there's a ghost there is because of the static electricity, the increase in static electricity. Sometimes it can be extremely high levels, like what your auntie saw, or it can be just a little low level sort of movement. A gentleman called Victor Tandy actually looked into levels of electricity, and also Albert Budden, and he created something called the poltergeist machine, and using static electricity he was able to move items around a table. I actually investigated a case in which a single mother moved into a new house, and every 7:30 to 8 o'clock it kicked off, and you would have knives and forks flying across the room, your classic sort of poltergeist activity, always between 7:30 and 8. We went there and the EMFs were off the scale, and we couldn't work out what it was. In fact, it was illegally high. It was almost like the house was polluted by EMFs, as high as putting a mobile phone to your ear. And we decided to talk to the next door neighbours. We said, who lives next door? Well, it's an old couple, we think, we've never seen them. Went to the other side, and they said they'd never had any activity. We actually found out that in the middle of this terrace houses, the old couple never existed. It was in fact a Yorkshire Electricity Board generator, and that was causing the paranormal activity. Why between 7:30 and 8 did it kick off? Because that's when everybody watches Coronation Street. They flicked the switch, increased the electricity, she had the poltergeist activity. So we know that static electricity is sometimes involved, not all the time, but sometimes.
Are there many cases of smells triggering either a sighting or experience, or the experience triggering a smell?
Yeah, I mean there's always the classic case of where people smell lavender or Parma violets, and I think it must be, I don't think people are actually smelling that perfume, I think it must be a reaction to the energy Like, do you know Earth lights, which is caused by seismic activity, and you get these balls of light appearing. When an Earth light appears, people smell sulphur, and in the olden days they used to think it was an appearance of Lucifer, Satan, that sort of thing, because of the sulphur. I think when people are smelling things like lavender, palm violets, sweet perfume, it's a reaction to the ghost. I don't think it's actually, if you look into any of the stories where apparently there's a perfumed lady, the person in question usually isn't a very perfumed person anyway. And certainly in the Georgian times or medieval times, they didn't used to walk around wearing perfume. But smell is something that always happens within ghost phenomena.
Is it always?
Oh yeah, you at Woodchester Mansion, you get the smell of blood, and how you can differentiate between the dusty smell of Woodchester Mansion and blood is that you get a metallic taste in your mouth, and that's when people get a little bit freaked out. So yeah, it's interesting.
I wonder if this is tied in with physiology, because you know they say people just before strokes can smell burning hair, this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it's some kind of tuning into.
Well, people who have brain tumours, they can have absolute different tastes. They can suddenly taste steak and ale pie or whatever, and it must be some sort of reaction with whatever we're dealing with. Maybe it is EMF levels, and it is causing them to smell that sort of thing. And I had an experience when I was younger, and nobody could explain it. My parents just said they were scientific and sceptical, and they just kind of said people who see ghosts just are highly imaginative, and that's it. But then I began to talk to other members of the family, and they said that they'd had experiences. So something switched on in my brain, and I thought, right, okay, then I'll go to the library, and all what was there was the ghosts of Hampshire, the ghosts of this, and I thought, oh, I'm just reading more stories. So I tried to tackle it from different angles. So I first looked into sort of the origins of ghosts and looked into some of the facts about ghosts. Most people don't realise that that before 1838, and it's been narrowed down now to a specific day, before that day, any ghosts that were seen, and you can double check this, were always friends or family that came back to tell a message or to give some sort of revengeance. After that day, ghosts changed. People began to see Roman soldiers. People began to see all the historical characters. And there's one reason why, and that's the education system was kicked into place. And what you have there is a change of perception by people. They begin to get educated, and then all of a sudden they're interpreting the energy, EMF, whatever you want to call it, and they were suddenly seeing historic ghosts, and the whole facet of ghosts had actually changed. And then I looked into the religious side, and to cut a long story short, I ended up falling onto Carl Jung, and it was basically through UFO investigation, because Jung at the end of his life began to look into UFOs and flying saucers, and he was also talking about ghosts and this global consciousness theory, and basically I've gone into investigate how global consciousness works, and I think I'm an advocate of that. I think it could explain a lot of the sightings that occur. This whole idea of that around us is this knowledge that anybody can tap into, and it quite excites me, to be honest, because I think if you can train yourself to access this knowledge and maybe dig into it, and maybe this is where inspiration comes from, maybe this is where things like psychic questing, where people get historical information that they dig up, and it's an interesting area of science that unfortunately is swamped at the moment by people who think they know what they're talking about, with attaching quantum physics to it, and it's well worth anybody getting involved into that sort of investigation. People like the Global Consciousness Project, Nordic Sciences, they're worth checking out to see what kind of research they're doing and how it applies to paranormal investigation. On the very top, pretty much up on the very top.
Any lantern?
No. Do you know the attic? Do you want to go there? See what sort of things you do there. Can you just, all I would say is it's the very low ceiling and you've got to lean over.
Forward. Oh, over to the
There you
right.
are. So just take your time. This is how they built medieval buildings, basically. You know, just added little sections here and there.
I find sometimes if I walk them down a bit, I tend to pick up a bit more.
So this is the attic room?
Yes, it's the attic directly on. It's one of the original parts as well.
I feel in this room, I get an impression that there was a bed here. It was like a really old wooden bed, straw mattress type of thing.
Right.
That's in this corner.
Are you seeing like a vision of the room? So it's like what the room was laid out of. You're not like picking up on a single figure character, or you're just picking on what the room's like.
What the room's like, I was concentrating on this bed,
Right.
but now I'm getting child. My attention was drawn to the child. It was like my attention was there, and then all of a sudden I was drawn to this child.
Is she aware of us?
Don't feel she is.
Over this way.
Yep, over in that corner.
She's blonde.
Because sometimes children relate more to females.
Quite a pretty child actually. She's long, flowing hair, like curly, locky. Nice hair. She's sat down. She's like crouching down like that.
Is she aware of us then? Is she kind of aware that Angie's stood next to her?
No, I don't feel like she's aware of us.
Right. So it's like a recording. So.
Yeah. She's just sat there. I don't feel like she's a happy child.
Do you think you're saying that she's not a happy child? So do you think the room feels quite depressive or sad or?
It's like I'm getting the impression that she's been scolded. When I say scolded, she's been told off.
Right. Yeah.
She's sulking really.
It's actually interesting that you're picking a child up in here, because originally this room we used to use it as like a storeroom, and just there is a bookcase that used to be full of antiques and our books, and we used to come in the morning. And they used to be thrown all over the floor, and other mediums used to say it's a child playing. And we used to think it was like a child having a bit of a tantrum, throwing them on the floor.
I was going to say a time to her actually.
Yeah,
she's been told off.
She's been told off.
You know, she's.
So it does tie in with the history then?
It absolutely does, yeah, because not only does it tie in with the experiences we've had here, but yeah, it kind of, this is one of the original parts of the building, built from the early 1400s. So there would have been families on each floor, and this would have been utilised by a family. But it's interesting we got the child, especially next to the bookcase as well, because then obviously we're stood in the dark, you can't tell there's a bookcase there. And yeah.
I don't know why, but that bed is really strong now.
There must be an emphasis on the bed. Must be I wonder if it ties in with why you're picking up on her.
Do you think the child may have been ill or something like that, maybe bedridden or...
Yeah, she's not ill, she's just been
No.
told off.
Or maybe she's been sent to her room because she's naughty, things like that. Could be.
It's,
Typical child pulling all the books off the bookcase and making
Then going
noise.
to bed to sulk.
yeah, she's just been scolded, that's all really. Can't Yeah, well, his connection with his bed is so strong. I'm not sure if she's been scolded actually. I think this is a child's bed, and I feel that whatever's going on over there, where she's knocked off the books, as she said, it's because she's more upset.
Right. Do you get any names at all? Or, well, do you get any idea of a name? Or
How old she is?
The age, I'd say about 8. I feel she may have been abused.
But this is a recording, isn't it? It's not kind of, she's not trapped here or anything.
It makes me feel like, I feel she's been abused because I'm getting such a strong connection here with the bed.
Yep.
And I'm just picking up that she's so upset over there, and she's like whacking things about.
So it's the phone vibrating.
I feel quite strange in here. It's like you feel really anxious, and it's quite quivery.
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel a bit like that.
Feels a bit sicky, doesn't it? So I'm kind of feeling good.
And it's coming. The other one said when she's not aware of us.
Yeah.
I'm not sure she may be. Because as he said, I'm picking stuff up now, so she must be aware of us.
It does actually feel like a change of atmosphere in here.
Yeah.
Do you know like what you were saying, Andrew? It's kind
Yes.
of, it's kind of, it's gone from, I actually felt quite relaxed in here, but it's kind of...
Now I'm feeling a bit anxious.
Yeah.
I don't want to go into too much detail really, but I feel somebody's holding her head down. I think it's a father. She's holding her head down. She's got her face down. He's holding her head down. But he's obviously doing things that I don't want to talk about really. I'm getting a link actually. There's a chap that we picked up on before downstairs, and it's a very tall chap, very broad, and we was having a chat about this before. And he's got sideburns that are very chiselled, and he doesn't like women.
This is a Victorian gentleman that you've
Picked up before, yeah. The way I can describe him really, these old Heathcliff movies, it's like a gentleman dressed up for riding really, right? Riding gear on basically. And he's got a very, very thin cane. And he's used the cane in the past for hitting people with.
And you think it's him up here?
I'm thinking I feel he's got something to do with his little girl.
Right. The character that you're describing, we've had mediums pick up on him before, kind of stamping up and down the staircase, and people who've stayed here have also heard the footsteps, and kind of they've walked right up to where the seance room is, and people have opened the door and the footsteps have disappeared.
Yeah, he's a very big broad chap, isn't
But yeah, that kind of fits in with what we've had. Where was it you've picked up in the basement?
Well, whilst we're waiting for crew, it was downstairs in the basement.
Right.
He was tuning in there, and he really doesn't like women. He's got a very, very stern face. His eyes are dark, bushy eyebrows. like I say, dark, sideburn, very chiselled, dark chin, and women are not on his level.
Do you know why?
Inferior.
Inferior.
Sorry for saying that afterwards, but
It's okay.
this is why this.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just doesn't like women, and I think he's responsible for abusing his child. I think it's his child.
Is he not with us now? Is this like a scene that you're seeing, but he's the ghost of this person or the spirit? Is he not with us at this moment?
No, he's not with us now. No. I don't think he's far behind. He's one. I think when we was in the basement before, because we was all tuned into it, he did join us. At one time he faded away, but then he joined us again. I think at the moment he's just observing, he's just staying behind. I feel like he's on the stairs at the moment.
Shall we go out and see?
Yeah.
We can pick that up.
It's changed down there now. The atmosphere's getting more electric. Do you sense that?
It's like the building's changed from when we were in here earlier. Let's go to the seance room.
How do you feel in your I feel it's electric in it.
Feel anxious?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Kind of, I mean, I've had weird experiences in here, but it feels like that at the moment.
We're going to try and tune into it if we can.
Is there anything we need to do?
It helps. Sometimes it tells me if we hold on.
Should we draw your fingertips on the table?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
What your fingertips? Is that dark? John is going into a semi-trance state.
Okay.
Just to see if he can. When I've worked with John before, you know, he goes into a trance state just to see if he can pull through more information, or sometimes he actually goes into full trance.
I feel that I haven't got a name for him still. He's next to you, Martin, but he's more further over. It's about to your right hand side is about 6 feet away.
Your left hand.
Left hand, sorry. Yeah. Left hand side is about 6 feet away, I think.
And this is the same man from the attic.
I can't see his outline at the moment. I can see he is a big man. He's got a top hat on, I think. He's very interested in the camera.
Is he actually looking at the camera now?
He's looking at it now.
Try swinging the camera on film and see if.
We've also got observers outside the door.
Part of the film. What do you think?
I feel we got two male figures who were here before, actually. We've got two male figures outside the door on the other side.
Can you ask them to knock on the door or to do something?
Can the energies on the other side of the door, can you knock? Can you make us a noise? On the door or somewhere in the building, can you make a noise to prove that you hear us? Can you make a tapping noise?
I heard something there.
It's not anybody here, is it?
No.
No?
I think, well, it certainly was. It came from over where Phil is.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Phil, are you wondering?
They're like, I'm more interested in the two men outside the door now. They're like guardians.
Of this man.
There's something to do with this man. When I was downstairs earlier, they were interested in what was going on in one of the rooms below. Well, it was actually with you guys again, really. You were talking to Martin before, and he was taking interest in you.
Right.
There was two, I'm referred to as guardians, on the other side of the door, and then there was a third man on the top of the stairs, and I feel the third man on the top of the stairs is the man that's inside here now. As I'm looking now across the room, I can see a lot of energy moving. There's a lot of energy in this room now. There's some. I'm getting two people in here now, I think. What do you get, Martin?
I'm just getting this kind of build up of just feel quite anxious. It's like there's somebody stood behind Philip, like towards the door, because I thought Mike was actually walking round.
No, I was just stood at the door, didn't want to get away the camera.
I actually thought you were stood over there next to Martin.
Yeah, I did, because I could hear him walking round, and I thought, what's he doing? Do you know? I thought I didn't know if he was sitting down or and that's why I said, oh, where are you, Mike? And
So you were over near the door?
Yeah, I was just with, I didn't want to walk in front of the.
I was convinced you were stood over there.
Yeah, I was.
Over where Martin isn't where you are now, Martin.
To the left of Martin.
Martin's
No,
left,
absolutely not. No, I'm not walked over there.
That's why I thought you were.
I get something building up behind Mike, actually. In this far corner.
What kind of thing would that be? Just like an energy kind of.
It's an energy, it's male energy. Yeah. We've had this once tonight, actually.
Hang on.
I feel now that there's an energy building up behind Mike. In the corner. There's a second energy about 6 feet away from Martin's left shoulder. And now I feel like there's only one energy outside the front door where there was two. Outside the door of this room where there was two. So one of those two guardians, as I call them,
Is it around?
that's entered the room. I think the one in control is one next to you, Martin. They work as a team, these three.
So you've got three ghosts or spirits,
Yeah.
and you think that they are aware of not only us, but of each other?
Yes. Definitely, yeah. They're working together. I feel that these three are always planning to how they're going to approach you in the next room. They want to follow you all the time. And that they're planning on how they're going to follow you next. Don't ask me why. I think it's because, I don't know, it's like they want to be a little bit elusive.
Hang on, but was that behind you, Philip?
Mm-hmm.
So you're getting three people. You think they're working with each other?
Yeah, I think they're working with each other. I've not got them now at the moment.
Can I just say something again? I can feel my chair moving. The only way I can describe it is if, you know,
I can feel a vibration through your hand.
you know, like how can I describe it? You know, like when a train goes past,
Yeah.
and you can feel it in your feet. It's like that, but under my bum.
I think they've moved on, I think. I think they're going down the stairs.
You don't feel anybody in here now?
Just felt that again, that was more like a thump.
Yeah, I felt that through your arm.
I don't know. It's starting to build up again, isn't it? I've seen figures going downstairs, but back of my hands feel tingly, a little bit tingly.
So this kind of energy is building
Yeah, something here, definitely. Can feel it in the chair.
I keep getting a lady who's I think she's seen a lot on the stairs actually. Long dress. It's almost like she's floating down the stairs, because her dress is so long. It was quite strong then that she's holding the hand of a child. Is directing his attention to you, Janice, at the moment. He's looking down at you. He's actually looking down at you, and June is looking left and right. He's got his stick raised. He's going to give you a good crack behind it.
So I was expecting him to do downstairs just as Martin walked in. I was expecting a crack across my legs.
Do you feel like that now that you're going to get hit?
Yeah, across my shoulder. I just feel.
That's where it's aiming, right across your shoulders.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to say, but I can't. See my height too.
He's pointing towards the door actually.
He wants us to go.
He wants you to go. What we're going to do now is to send energy around the circle, and how we do that is imagine a really bright crystalline light of ball above you in the middle of the circle. Draw the energy in through the middle before you. Once you've drawn the energy in, visualise that energy going down your right arm, and then the person to your right will take up the energy to the right and send it down the right and so on until they complete up a circle of crystalline light, bright light. Just draw that energy, keep it going. Send it around the circle.
Tell us who you are.
Tell us your name.
Tell us who you are.
Please speak to us. Why do you want us to go?
You hear the knock upstairs? It's an empty shop.
Is it all of us who want to leave? Bitches. The women.
Tell me who you are. Can you give me a name, a year? And can you tell me what your name is?
Joshua.
And what's your last name?
Just Joshua.
What are you doing in this building?
I'm the master.
You must have a last name, you must have a surname, family name.
Sir to you.
Say that again, sorry.
Sir.
Sir to me, right, okay.
What do you do? What's your job?
Punish.
Say that again. You punish?
I punish. I punish.
For what?
Whatever I please.
Are you in charge of staff? Or do you actually own this house?
I am the master.
What was it you punish?
The big bitches.
What do you do to the men?
Gatherings.
Gatherings, yeah. What you organise things, or you?
I am the master. Sir to you.
Is it Master Mason?
Yeah. Are you a master mason? Is that what you are?
No.
Are you just the master?
I'm the master.
But what are you a master of?
Little girl.
Little girl. Are you married to this lady?
Yes.
Do you hit her?
Yes.
And why do you make her cry?
Because I'm the master.
Yeah, but just because you're the master, you shouldn't hit women.
You're inferior. The Brotherhood.
The Brotherhood.
That's the church you go to. Can you tell us anything about it?
Pleasure.
Pleasure. Can you tell us what you do there?
Secret.
Does it involve women?
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it a situation that he was in a trance because you shouted out there, or was he just communicating straight through you?
It was more straight through me really, but it was like fluctuating really. It started deep. You know when you get deep.
Yeah.
It started like that.
Otherworld can be found at Stonegate, which was one of the original Roman roads leading into the heart of York. 35 Stonegate has over 2,000 years of history, and the house itself has witnessed life in York for over 500 years. In the last years of the medieval period, the site was owned by the Brahmin monastery. In 1482, the house came into the possession of Francis Hildyard. For the next 200 years, the house became booksellers and later a publishing house named The Sign of the Bible, and the hanging wooden Bible over the front door has remained a feature of Stonegate ever since. In September 1835, Princess Victoria, later Queen, visited the shop and even took tea in the back parlour of the bookshop. She distinguished them as printsellers by royal appointment. By 1873, the future of the house looked doubtful, since the last printseller, Robert Sunter, had died with no heir. A new chapter of the house's history began when John Ward Knowles purchased the house and began to renovate and reorganise the house. It became the Knowles family home for the next 120 years. The house also became the hub of artistic activity, with Knowles' interest in photography and stained glass, which he created and renovated. Many of the windows within 35 Stonegate are still stained glassed and in excellent condition. John Ward Knowles lived and worked here until his death at the age of 93, and his sons continued the business until 1953. Otherworld is a striking medieval building with a warren of rooms varying in size, style and use. Walks through its corridors are a journey through time, from 1400s to Georgian to late Victorian. With over 1,000 years of history on its site, it's no surprise that it's renowned for being haunted. The house stands on a site that has been continuously occupied since 71 AD. It's a timber frame construction over 6 centuries old, which boasts an impressive number of original features, including beautiful beams and rooms of oak panelling. Prior to being acquired for its present use, it was in the hands of a family of artisans who had owned it for over 120 years, and full of stunning examples of decorative stained glass, and includes an intact Victorian hand-painted ceiling. A shadowy spiral staircase creaks up the 3 floors. Passages, dimly lit by light filtering through square windows, open off it. Lining them are dark wooden doors. Through these doors are dark rooms, and through those rooms further dark rooms and even more dim passages. It's a warren of a building which seems to extend backwards forever into the dark heart of York's history. There has been proven habitation of over 1,000 years on the site of the other world, and the current house has been standing since 1482. With that amount of history, it was bound to have a few restless spirits. Probably its most famous ghost is that of Tom, who was said to linger in the seance room on the second floor. Fright Night's medium Ian Doughty described Tom as a tall man who was attired totally in black, wearing a hat and running a knotted leather cord between his hands. There was a lot of secrecy surrounding this man, and a connection with the number 13. The atmosphere changed markedly, so much in fact, that a member of the group insisted that the lights be turned on as they were scared. Jonathan Kaner took over the building in 1999. During an interview with This Is York website, it was stated, initially, after buying the building, he was aware only of a handful of ghosts, a couple in one of the back rooms and a distraught lady who used to hang around in the kitchen, and there was a male presence that one or two people had seen. Then Jonathan began to renovate the old building. This involved digging in the foundations. The workmen must have disturbed something. Jonathan said it was like Piccadilly Circus. Suddenly we couldn't move for spectral figures. To date there have been over 14 different ghosts reported by mediums, psychics and attendees during events. They range from a balding monk in the lantern room to an elegant Georgian lady seen in the dining room, and in the seance room there have been 6 accounts of poltergeist activity and 2 manifestations. To date, there have been over 14 different ghosts reported by mediums, psychics and attendees during events. They range from a balding monk in the lantern room to an elegant Georgian lady seen in the dining room, and in the seance room there have been 6 accounts of poltergeist activity and 2 manifestations.